So I want to say thank you for coming because I remember your staff, Tyler, Texas. Tyler, Texas, I believe. Were you all in Tyler? Was it Tyler?
Well, we lived in Van, Texas,
Okay.
and Lindale, Texas, close to there, and Tyler
Lindale.
was 45 minutes away.
That's it. That's what it was.
Yeah.
Well, I know that your staff was coming back and forth. Here's actually, if you haven't seen, this is Jeri and Steve, her wonderful husband, and we're just
Mhm.
so thankful for that. That's a wonderful picture of you two, by the way. Love that.
Thank you.
And so, you know, it just shifted everything for us. And I
Mhm.
remember the frustration at times when Steve would look at us and say, "Go tell somebody about, get out and
Yes.
tell somebody," right? And I remember him building little kits with VHS tapes in them, putting the spotlight out. And it was really
Yeah.
hard to get the American church to go out and do so. I don't know, you know what I'm saying? We want to talk
Yeah.
about that. But talk to us in regards to, I know that, um, you know, he quoted Jim Elliott, I believe he did. It was a Jim Elliott that he says, when it comes to, I think this is what he said. This is what he said right here. He said, when it comes time to die, make sure that's all you have to do. And he lived his
Yeah.
life like that.
Yeah.
You lived your life like that. And so talk to us about, we have an illness, we need to be healed. It's called, I don't know, is it self? Is it air conditioning? What is it in America that, because we want that same passion. We want to be able to just be driven, that Steve was a friend. I mean, he loved everyone.
Yeah.
It's hard to do.
Yep.
You can describe him, but people don't believe it. But he just loved everyone. And so talk to us a little bit about, we're going to talk about some other things, but about the heart of the church in America, because it seems totally different than the church in other parts of the world.
Well, every single country you go to, I've been to 60 different countries
Wow, 60.
and ministered. And I think since I didn't go on every trip with Steve,
Mm-hmm.
I think he had probably been to over 100
Oh,
different countries. And every single country that you go to, each country, it's different.
mm-hmm.
It's their culture, it's um, their upbringing, the things they've been taught. Um, you know, you can't lump it all into one big ball.
Right.
Every single country is so different.
Mm-hmm.
But when, living in these different countries, every single church, you get into a mode where you're ministering basically to everybody who comes into the building.
Right.
And
Yeah.
what God is wanting us to be as Christians is that every single one of us
Mm-hmm.
operate in the gift of being evangelism,
Yeah.
sharing their faith with people.
Right.
And if you can get people comfortable about talking about the love of their life,
Mm-hmm.
when
Mm.
somebody falls in love with Jesus,
Shoo.
or you fall
Yes.
in love with somebody, you can't help but talk about that person that you love. And you think about them all the time and you spend time with them.
Mm.
And when you're around other people, you're telling them about,
Right.
this person you have fallen in love with.
Right.
And that's how it is supposed to be with Jesus.
Mm.
We are
Yeah.
supposed to have our first love.
Mm.
And that first love makes you want to talk about him and share him with others, especially if you've been rescued
Yeah.
from a life of sin and
Yeah.
bondage.
Yeah.
And you know that somebody else can get rescued from that sin and
I'm
bondage
a rescue.
as well.
I'm a rescue.
Yeah.
Mm.
And so when you're talking to people about Jesus, and every single church person, not a church in general, but
Right.
every single person
Mm-hmm.
should get to the place where Jesus is their first love.
Right.
And if he's really touched them and set them free from things in the world,
Right.
you cannot help but talk about him to somebody else. This is the difference between having, being in love and married to somebody.
Yeah.
Jesus, you can share him with everybody.
Right.
We don't have to be selfish
Right.
and keep him to ourselves, but we can share him with every single person. He died for every single one of them.
Yeah.
And but
Could it be that? Could it be the fact that, that their love is missing? And that, I don't know what we had prior to revival, but when God came and showed himself, tangibly to us,
right.
the glory of God, the love of God, there was no religion, more Lord was our theme, just more Lord, which is, y'all know that's your theme. Y'all's life was like that, more Lord. But I know one thing that you said, I believe when you were being interviewed on Daniel Day's program, I really loved it, because this is where we need to be the same way. You said, when Steve and I got saved, we knew from the very beginning that our lives would not be our own anymore. It was God's. We didn't want selfishness to rule our lives. We didn't want comfort to rule our lives. I think you just nailed us with that when you said that. How do we get out of ourselves?
Out of our selfishness?
Yes, out of our selfishness.
I like to bring into focus a scripture, and it's, I am crucified with Christ. Nevertheless, I live. Yet not I, but Christ lives in me. And the life which I now live in the flesh, I live by the faith of the Son of God, who loved me and gave himself for me. And so if I am crucified, am I going to be selfish? Mm-hmm. And if Christians really lived crucified, then we wouldn't be getting our feelings hurt.
Dead feelings don't feel.
Right. You're crucified, you're dead. You don't have no room for getting your feelings hurt. Right. Somebody talked about me, somebody said something bad about me. Yeah. And, all I say is, one day I am going to be held accountable to God. And actually, I've lived today like I'm accountable to him.
Yeah, we are, aren't we? I mean,
yes.
To me, it's surprising how many people don't live that way who profess a relationship. It's like, what are you doing? I mean, what's is there something else that I don't know about? But there's a religion, I guess you would say. And this is what Steve said. The religion, he probably said it too. Religion's hanging around the cross, but Christianity's getting on the cross.
Yes. And that's where the crucifixion takes place, where you're crucified with Christ. Mm. And so you're so committed, just like he paid a price, then we should be willing to pay a price too.
Yes. And this is our opportunity.
Yes.
I mean, this is our opportunity. It's like, once this is done, once we're sitting there, chatting with Steve about everything, we're there in heaven with the Lord, and we've done it. I mean, obviously we're going to do some things, but this is our moment. I mean, this is I love, Steve preached a message once called "The Days of Our Flesh." Do you remember that? And it was like, we have these.
Well, behind me, I have all of his messages that he wrote out for the revival.
Oh my goodness.
They're in my office.
Oh my goodness. That's awesome.
And so, they're all behind me, and we're also uploading them to our website. And
your website is togetherintheharvest.com?
Yes.
Togetherintheharvest.com.
And so the Legacy Library, we're uploading all of those messages. And so the one you're talking about, but I'm going to make reference to this rocking chair behind me.
Okay.
Steve and I, when we were younger, we would talk and say, one day when we get old and gray, we're going to sit in two rocking chairs, and we're going to invite people over and talk about the things of God and what God can do, and spend time with them.
Right.
And when Steve passed away, I asked, I was looking for an old wooden casket. And the one they had was made from Amish barnwood. And it was sitting on the table, and he said, and there was a picture of the casket there, and it was perfect. It was just what I think Steve would have wanted. Something, an old kind of casket. The picture had a rocking chair in it.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, and the rocking chair comes with it.
Oh.
And I felt like God was giving me a mandate that I was supposed to carry on our dream of talking about the things of God. And so that rocking chair is made of Amish barnwood, the same as what the casket was made of.
What?
And I got both of those together. It was a package deal.
Uh-huh.
And so that's my mandate, is to
Wow.
proclaim and talk about the things of God, his glory, his presence, and that it every step of the way, every single thing that we did, from the very time that we got saved, we got revived.